No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for Radio.
Hello, welcome to Love Your Body, Love Your Life. My name is Jenna. I am the author of the book titled Love Your Body, Love Your Life. My book can be found on Amazon and on barnesandnoble.com. And today we have Janine Bernstein on. She's actually the author of the book titled Get the Funk Out. And she's also created a health and wellness series that we're going to be talking all about. It's about healing your mental health through creative arts, which in my opinion, I think is genius, because whenever we tap into the creative side of our brain, we also tap into more of our self-esteem. So whenever you can get out of the habitual thinking mind and put it into something else, it's always a good thing. We always create these stories, I feel, in our minds that can lead us down a rabbit hole and that are more than they're just not true most of the time. So, and I talk from experience because I am an overthinker. So I'm excited to have Janine Bernstein on. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. I love your background. I just want to reiterate that. So tell us about your background.
So I had a different background for a while. It was a studio, like a loft, and people actually thought I lived like in this cool area in New York. And I said, no, it's Amazon. And then I got this one a while ago without even thinking about, wait, it's Pride Month coming up, which is perfect. And I've gotten so many compliments. People just love it.
Yeah. Where are you located, by the way, Janine?
Orange County, California.
Oh, you are? Okay. Yes. I didn't even realize I'm in Newport, so.
Oh, I could have come over.
Okay. Well, we'll have to connect. I don't know why I thought you were in LA somewhere.
No, I'm here in Orange County. I've been here for a while, actually. And but it's so great to meet you.
Yeah. Awesome to meet you too. Yeah. So will the series tell us about the series. Where will it be located and all that stuff?
Sure. Well, it's easily located from the comfort of your own home because it's virtual. And I came up with the idea of a series that had to do with mental health and wellness and the creative arts, because as you said, there's nothing like the arts to pull us up and bring us positivity. Mm-hmm. And so I started my series outside the box in the pandemic in 2020, but a lot of students were reaching out to me for advice because, let's face it, they lost opportunities, internships, jobs, and any hope of what life is going to look like, right? Whether they're in high school or college or after college. So my series, which I'm so excited about, is actually led by a lot of Gen Z leaders. So we have, I would say, the youngest is 18, and she's in high school. She wrote a book about being in the pandemic, things you can do. And then I have a lot of 20-something workshop instructors. And I tell everybody, you do not have to have a background in leading a workshop. You just have to have a passion and a message you want to share. And I will help them craft their content, co-host, moderate. It should not be something that they get anxious about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love this. I mean, I love what you're doing, and I love that you're offering it to younger generation.
It's everybody. It's everybody. And it's so exciting because it gives them a platform to share their message or even their business. A lot of them they're entrepreneurs. And we're kicking off on the 7th at 6 p.m. With Carol Worrells talking about the power of poetry. And we have everything. There's 1-hour workshops like, art therapy and meditation, mindfulness, yoga, all kinds of creative writing workshops, full roster, and many people who were at the Mental Health Youth Action Forum recently in DC are teaching. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Look at you connecting with all these people. That's awesome. Yeah.
It's exciting.
It is very exciting. So what inspired this whole workshop for you, Janine?
So I attend 1 Million Cups New York every month, and it's at 5:30 in the morning, our time. And I've been getting on this for over a year now, and I meet some of the most amazing entrepreneurs. And someone was talking about a camp app that he was developing. And I said, well, are there any camps that help people, dive into wellness and creativity and nurturing your mental health? He says, no, I don't have anyone. So I thought, I'd like to develop something because I have experience as a mental health advocate, as a journalist, and doing radio and virtual events for a long time now. I thought I want to blend all of my interests and do something virtual that is affordable and fun and engaging, because we're very disconnected from the pandemic. It's really not in our rearview mirror yet. And so there's been a lot of isolation and depression. And this is my way of lifting people up, all ages, and doing something fun and making people really, lifelong learners and feel positive.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, I can relate to the isolation. I mean, I was living alone during 2020, but I think I agree with you that I still feel I have to be careful, out there.
Right. And that's the thing. And so I was fortunate to get a fellowship, which I did not even think I would get, but it was a fellowship to study something. It's the Age Boom Academy with Columbia Journalism, and it's the Robert M. Butler School in New York. And what this is an experience to look at research into strategies to connect generations. So we've got college students and retirees and things that are happening as far as building relationships and building connections. Because let's say you have a grandparent, right? You want to keep them safe from COVID. So what do? We push them further away. We don't visit them. We might Zoom with them. We talk on the phone, but they are isolated. And so their depression goes up. College students' depression has gone up, anxiety. There's so much research. But when we do things that collaborate and bring them together, it really lifts people up mutually.
For sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I'm one that can be alone and be totally fine with my own company. But after a while, I mean, as you know, when you're creative, I can get into a project or something, but after a while, it's like, I haven't talked to anybody in in a couple days. So
exactly. Yeah. Or I haven't gone out, exactly.
Yeah. Do you have a pet or anything, Janine? Or
we have a dog. We have
awesome.
a dog that we got several years ago. And it was really for my daughter. But now I didn't want a dog. I was battling. I was like, I don't want the responsibility. I don't have the time. I don't like dogs. She's the cutest. Yeah.
Aww.
She's really cute. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you have a dog?
I do not. No, it's kind of a sad story, but I will share.
Okay.
I had two dogs. One passed in 2019, and then my other one I had to put down January of 2020.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, right. And so he was my baby too. I had him, he was a pug.
Yeah.
And I had him since he was 4 months old, and I had him shipped from Ohio to John Wayne. And then he was with me. He would have been 18 on February 14th, Valentine's Day. Wow. So he would have been 18. So he lived
a full life
with me. And, 2 marriages, 2 divorces, moving so many places.
Yeah.
They're just like, they become your kids,
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I miss him. I miss him all the time.
Okay. True. So can I turn the tables for a second and ask you a question?
Sure.
All right. So, I wrote this book called Get the Funk Out. Bleep happens. What to do next. I didn't know if I can use potty mouth on your show. So I said bleep. Okay. What do you do when you're in a funk?
For me, it's interesting. The thing that really uplifts me instantly is my singing.
Great.
So I will, and trust me, I fight myself, because if I'm really in that big of a funk, which I've experienced a lot these past couple of years as the collective, right?
Definitely.
I will fight myself, knowing what would get my spirit up. I still fight myself. I'll lay on the couch, or I'll, do other things, knowing that all I have to do is go sing a song. I'll just put on, I don't know. I just performed at Love and Laughter Music Studio a couple months ago. I did two cover songs, the one Nora Jones song and one Amy Winehouse song. So
beautiful.
to answer your question, I literally will just sing. I just put on the karaoke and I'll just sing, and then I get lost in it.
Yes.
And then it's like 2 hours and it's midnight and I'm like, oh, I feel so much better.
Your neighbors are like, please, enough already.
Yeah, right. So what about you? What do you do?
Well, I've done a variety of things. In the pandemic, I switched it up. I felt very isolated and I thought, what can I do? Not much. Can't go to the gym. I was walking. I walk all the time. So I decided to go take a class to ride a 3-wheel motorcycle. So I went to Saddleback College because I noticed online I could sign up, and I thought, I'm going to be outside. I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm going to be with strangers. I like strangers. I want to be with new people, right? And it was so much fun. And it was like 4 or 5 hours. So after that, I thought, well, we're still in a pandemic. What could I do next? So I signed up for the 2-day motorcycle class. And that was Zoom at 7 a.m. for 4 hours. And then back to the track for 2 days. And it was even more fun. And it was challenging, but it was so uplifting to do something new and different, and then to see the same people for 2 days. So I like to switch it up. I like to try something on my bucket list, I would say. And even a year ago, it was tennis lessons. I signed up for group lessons, and we are so connected, the 16 of us. It's amazing. I love my team. Yeah.
There's something about tennis, and I don't have the facts on this, but maybe you've heard since you've been playing. There's something about tennis and the brain, and they say that it's the way, like, you move your arms and shift your arms back and forth, and like how you move on the court. It's something about the brain. You're using both sides or something like that that is supposed to uplift you. It's supposed to use both sides of the brain. Again, don't quote me on that, but
okay, I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, for sure. Look it up and let me know. But
I would believe it, because it does a lot of things. Like, I have fought through insecurity and negative self-talk, and I'm sure your listeners or whoever's watching this is going to think that's me, because when you're doing a sport and you're thinking, oh, I stink, or oh, I keep hitting the net, or like, you have to retrain your negative thinking and speak nicer to yourself. And that's one of the things I've been doing, and it's helped me. Now I'm in a league, but it helps. It really, you reframe it. It's like, oh, well, so I hit the net. Next,
Yeah. I'm curious. So, I get that. I can go into negative talk all by myself. I don't have to be around anybody.
Oh, no.
or being like trying to compare. So, but I just was curious, like, is it because you feel you're judged in that moment, or have you asked yourself that, or what is that? Like, what's there?
That's it. That's a lifetime of negative self-talk. That's reliving verbal abuse. It's for me, it's like all the stuff, the crappy stuff from childhood. When somebody would talk negative to me, I would believe it. So it's a loop. And as you get into adulthood, if you haven't dealt with that, it continues. So, and it kind of emerges as anxiety. Well, it doesn't kind of. It emerges as anxiety, So I would get anxiety, and you still do too. Like if you're competing, and it's just learning to breathe. I went back to yoga in January, learning to breathe and focus and let go and be calmer. And it's just something I've learned through working on myself. Yeah.
What's the modality that you've used to work on yourself to become aware of this?
Therapy. And
Traditional.
oh yeah. And I never would have even talked about going to therapy years ago. I wasn't in therapy years ago, but I reached a point in the pandemic where I was really peeling back my layers. And also in talking to my show guests, they were peeling back their layers. And I thought, I really want to be open and genuine. And I want to take a closer look at why I act the way I do, why I talk to myself the way I do. And therapy has put new words in my vocabulary like boundaries. And it's been a game changer for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I commend you because, I will share too. I've done my own deep personal work. I started when I was 30, because that was the age that I left my first husband.
Okay.
And I had found it's a different modality, but it's the same thing. And I have not stopped since that.
That's good. That's great.
So yeah. So I commend you because some people just don't want to go there, Janine. I think it's either too painful or too shameful or both. Yeah. And it's you hear this all through, if you listen to anybody that's gone through therapy or anybody that talks about, healing the inner child or all of that stuff that you have to face. It's like, and it's true. It's like, there's no way around it. It's like, you cannot jump from here to where you want to be in life without going through it.
Yes.
And it's like, it's hard. It's hard.
Yes. It's very hard.
Yeah.
But we have stigma when it's as far as talking about mental health in our country. And I am all in favor of reducing the stigma. And I want to, basically live that motto. And I wanted to be more authentic. And I felt that by not addressing things, it was affecting me personally and professionally. So it's been an amazing experience to peel back the layers and to be able to bring up stuff and not feel so emotional, but to be able to process it in a different light. Yeah. It's been great.
Yeah. Can you, if you're open to sharing, can you give us an example of how did it affect you personally or professionally? Is there one experience that just kind of popped and you're like, you know what, I got to take care of this? Or
yeah,
sure.
So so this book that I wrote, Get the Funk Out, the reason I wrote this book initially is because in 2010, a friend of mine who I grew up with in Connecticut, I got a phone call that she took her life. And I was just, it's like you knocked the wind out of me. And I just was shocked. It affected me to no end. So I was a DJ at a local station here, and I decided, I'm going to leave the station. I'd been there 3 years, and I need to do some soul searching, and I need to heal. And I came up with this idea of this show called Get the Funk Out for me to heal, but also to give other people a platform to share whatever it is they've been through. And I love the idea of creating through grief or whatever it is you're facing. So I met filmmakers, actors, authors, health and wellness people, so many people. And so I always loved to write. Even when I was 15, a teacher said there are no wrong answers in my class. It was a creative writing class, and she changed me tremendously. So long story short, I met somebody on my show, and I said, I'm meeting all these people with these amazing stories. I'd love to really write about them and feature them in a book. She says, you need to do that. So I got to meet an amazing editor, and then got connected to different people in a publishing house. So I wrote the book originally in a notebook. I would get on the plane because my dad was diagnosed with cancer in 2015. So I travel with a notebook, which I recommend to anybody if you love to write, or it's like just journaling, what you're feeling. So I started writing like, what's a FuNk? Where do they come from? What are the types? How do we get rid of them? And it was like this analysis in this notebook. And when the book got approved, everything was just flowing out of me. And I was putting the pieces together with stories from people, as well as my own stories. And my dad was incredibly sick. And I, just kept writing and writing. And, it's like, I can't even believe I wrote a book.
Yeah.
And people are really wonderful. I've gotten great feedback, how it's helped them. And I love giving book talks. I give talks to students and adults. I just gave my first live one last week.
Yay.
Yeah. I know, it was all virtual for 2 years. So
yay.
But that's just an example of like going through something and then putting my grief into my writing.
Mm-hmm.
It completely shifted my focus of work. I was asked to do public speaking, and just being open, to that journey was great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's just so much there, I feel, like just, I'm thinking about the people that are listening, and if they're in a funk or if they're going through grief, it's so tough. I mean, I think 2020 was the hardest for everyone, but it's just like, I don't think I had been that summer, July of 2020 was the hardest summer for me because I had gone through divorce in 2019, and then I lost my pets. Yeah. And, so it was just like
everything hitting the fan.
Everything, hitting the fan. And, and then again, I'm a big exerciser. I do hot yoga, I've always been very active. So I just remember one day just really, truly not being able to get off the couch. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So it's like,
yeah. And wait, so have you ever cried in yoga?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that would happen to me when I first started practicing yoga years ago. I'd just cry. I'm like, what's the matter with me?
Yeah. I love that you brought that up, because that's another thing that I always, what I've learned through my healing is to feel your feelings. Like, sometimes we don't know even why we're crying. Like, sometimes, I've gone to places, just even driving, or I'm in a grocery store and a song comes on, and I'm like, why am I getting emotional? Like, why am I crying? But, my mentor, she's taught me, like, sometimes you don't have to know. The body just knows what to do.
That's right.
Because our body is smarter than our mind, all of our thoughts. Right. Yeah. So that was kind of the premise of my book, Love Your Body, Love Your Life.
Yes.
So sometimes it's like, so my point is I love that you brought up the crying, because people should know to feel their feelings.
Yes.
Feel the feelings.
Yes. And also I want to add that there's no time frame for healing your grief. Like, you can't let somebody say, it's enough already. Like, I still feel the loss of my friend, and that was 2010. And so you can't put a time frame on your grief. It's how you move through it. You might decide, what, I went 5 steps ahead, and tomorrow it was 2 steps back, and it's just putting yourself into things to shift your perspective, to move forward in a positive way, and I believe putting your grief into something like a project, like this backdrop makes me think, gives me like positive vibes. Like, I want to go like paint. Like, I think it'd be cool to do that to a wall in my house. Yeah. Right. It just makes me want to like create. It's very positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What else can people do? Like if they're listening, like how can they shift their funk or their grief or, you know, I mean, we've talked about putting it into something, but maybe there's people that are listening like, I don't paint, I don't write,
All
I
right.
don't, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, out of my book, I came up with this method, and it's called the Gtfo Method, and it stands for gratitude. So you really, maybe go outside, sit under a tree, and think, what can I be grateful for right now? Right?
Yeah.
Fresh air. I have a place to live, hopefully, and just kind of, even if you have to take a piece of paper out and write, what am I grateful for? I'm healthy. I'm this, I'm that. And then if it's a person you're grateful for, pick up the phone and call them. Don't text them. Listen to their voice. Tell them how you feel. Tell them what a difference they made in your life, what an impact. I actually wrote to my writing teacher years ago before she passed away to tell her what an impact she had on me.
Oh.
And she wrote back. She was this adorable little woman, Mrs. Katie. And so, doing things like that, writing letters, being old school, picking up the phone. And then thoughtfulness is the T in GTFO. Thoughtfulness for yourself, your self-care, you got to like really amp it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily a face mask. It could just be like planning a day, things you're going to do for yourself, to take care of yourself, your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual health. And then thoughtfulness for others. When you take your time and you go help somebody else, maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's a food bank. I went and picked up excess donuts for months at a local place, and I found 6 or 7 organizations that help people who are experiencing homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And just not thinking about my own stuff, just, hey, what can I do to make a little dent in the world? Right?
Yeah.
So doing something with a purpose, a social initiative, something. And then the flow state, yes, maybe you don't think you're an amazing painter, but just starting from something, go into a craft store and look around. You might find something to inspire you. My daughter started knitting like little skull caps or a purse or a blanket, get on YouTube. And then the O is optimism. Do things that bring you positivity. And sometimes that's really connecting with people, like the class I took.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are going back in person to do things.
Right.
So with the summer, I would say sign up for something, even if it's an outdoor class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, get out there, put yourself out there.
Yeah. It's been such I know it's for a purpose, for a higher, talking spiritually, this is all happening for a reason, and I think it's basically what you're talking about, which is bringing us home to ourselves.
Yeah.
Realizing all of our self-talk, where we need to work, so there's a reason why we were sitting at home with no noise, and no distractions, and you couldn't run to your addiction,
Yeah.
You go. Yeah.
The addiction might be this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean it, because this has taken us away from being connected to one another.
Mm-hmm.
We're so focused on swiping and what are they doing? What are they wearing? And we're not paying attention to who's right in front of us.
Get off your phone.
Get off your phone. Imagine if you were interviewing me and my phone rings and I'm like, hold on, I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
Hold on. That means I don't care about you. I don't value you, respect you. And I mean, I see this with parents with their kids. I see this, all the time. And it's just nice to go outside when you're taking a walk and look up and say hello to as many strangers as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, I'm driving into the grocery parking lot, and there was a young boy, I don't know, maybe early 20s, tall, just on his phone, Janine, walking, and didn't even see a car. Like, car was stopping, and like, dude, you're like,
Yeah. Wake up, look
He's
up.
just walking, not even paying attention. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
I get hit. Like,
I
it's just,
know. I know.
yeah, I
Like
know.
being mindful. I was telling you, I did a book talk in person and I asked everybody, so how are you doing? And
Mm,
all of a sudden, like people started sharing because a lot of times people don't have somebody to ask that,
yeah.
someone to listen. And right now I'm writing my second book and it's called Better Humans. Um, and when I'm interviewing people, they're saying, I feel that people aren't listening. They're not kind. They're not compassionate.
Mm,
And if we would just take the time to connect and be compassionate and listen, I think it would change people's trajectory.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold space,
Yeah.
not only for ourselves, but, because it has to start with you, I feel it has to start with us to show up for other people in the capacity that you're talking about,
Yes.
because if we're not centered and grounded and okay here, we're going to be scattered, out
Yeah.
in everywhere. It doesn't matter where we're at.
I'll give you an example. Like, how many times have you met with somebody and you do the standard, hi, how are you? I'm fine, thanks. How are you? But now it's more like when I ask somebody how they are, I see them on Zoom. Like I see right to their core. And I ask somebody, how are you? And he's like, I'm good. I'm like, you're not good. Like, I'm sorry. I don't buy it. What's up? And then it's nice because sometimes people will say, well, this happened. And then we'll get to talking. And that's what it means to be a better human.
I mean, for sure. I was at a party on Saturday night, and I mean, I don't know how you are with this, but I'm not really good at small talk, to be honest. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not a party goer,
Yeah.
like, I can sit and have a good conversation,
Yes.
but I am not a party goer. So I was happy and excited to get to really talk to two other women at
Hmm.
this party. It was my neighbor's party. So I had no excuse, Janine. I told my mentor I had no excuse. I had to walk 10 feet to get to this, like, because normally I'm a homebody, but
Are you an introvert or are you a mix of an introvert? Oh yeah. Okay.
no, I for sure get my own energy from myself, my own
Yeah.
company. But
Sure.
like I just shared, I performed on stage, a month ago. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I love that, but I have
Yeah.
to go home right away,
Yeah. And recharge. Yes.
recharge. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so what happened at the party?
I just got to talking with two women and I was told them straight up, like, I'm not good at small talk. I can have good conversation like this. And I was just grateful, that I got to meet my two other
Yes.
neighbors, or
Hmm.
actually a neighbor and her friend.
Okay.
But yeah. So, and I left early and I patted myself on the back. Yeah, you went. You did a
You
good
went
job.
for 10 minutes.
It was a little longer than that, but
Yeah.
yeah, but you get the point,
I do. I really do. Sometimes I'm like cringing on the inside thinking, how much longer? Yeah.
Yeah, why is
Yeah.
that? I don't.
It's being insecure, uncomfortable, and also the pandemic hasn't helped because
Mhm,
for a lot of people now they're more comfortable being on Zoom or just home than they are in person. It's like you
mhm,
have to retrain your brain how to communicate.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Awesome. Well, let's see what else was on our. You were going to share a story that really, when I read this, I was like, oh, cool. I want to hear about that. You were talking about a drum circle
Oh
that
yeah.
you share that with us.
Okay, so December I was in Florida because my stepmom was not doing well health wise. She was actually in a hospital. It
Mm,
wasn't it wasn't like life threatening serious, but it was serious enough. She was in a hospital. So then she was going into rehab. So I was at her condo, and I get an email that I have a voiceover audition. And I'm thinking, wait, I'm in Sarasota, Florida. How am I doing a voiceover audition? Normally I do it from home. I mean, people can do it on their phones, but they said, no, we need you to be in a studio. So I sent a message out to people I know on Facebook that are voiceover professionals in LA. And I immediately heard back suggesting, shout out to Randy Thomas, who referred me to Ruth Weisberg, who's originally from Philly, who lives in Sarasota. And I was like connecting the dots. And then someone else told me about a studio. And I thought, oh, this is going to be like a scary movie because I'm showing up at this guy's house to use his studio.
Oh,
and I know. And he's like, I'm married and she'll be home. And I'm like, dude, this is so out of my comfort zone. It's better be legit. And I get there and the wife's like outside, like waving. And I'm like, okay, it's still, I hope it's not a scam, you know? And it was fine. He was wonderful. So I had to send this in because it was a really big client. And then Ruth says to me, how long are you here? There's a drum circle. And I'm like, I've never been, like, I can't drum circle. I guess, you know. She's like, oh, it's so much fun. You got to come. So I went Christmas Day and I'm like, I don't have a drum. She's like, oh, and there were hundreds of people and it was the coolest experience. And what was great is it reminded me of the way I used to be, which is like, I went to Colorado for a week to do research for my dissertation. I ran something called the Boulder. I met women from Nebraska. We went out to dinner. So I was more open, right? I haven't been like that in a while, but this opportunity to meet Ruth, meet these people in the drum circle, it was a blast. Yeah, it was really cool. And we're friends now.
That's an awesome story. I'd love that. Yeah. You know, it's hard to be open, you know, with, and I think, you know, obviously you have to do it with discernment.
Yes.
Who are you going to be open with?
Exactly.
I think, you know, I talk a lot about myself on this show. I know you have your own podcast, right? Is it a podcast? Okay.
Well, I have a live show on KUCI 88.9 FM. That's the Get the Funk Out show. And then Outside the Box is a podcast in a series. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, I feel comfortable being open, but there's other people that, you know, just like we're talking about, may not have done deep work. They don't really feel comfortable sharing. They might still feel very shameful of where they come from or whatever, you know, goes through our head, you know, which is all untrue, but it feels true in the moment, you know?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's nothing more powerful than somebody sharing their story.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So, I'll give you an example. So, in the pandemic, my daughter, who was a senior at the time, finishing up college, she had transferred. It was a Monday, and she's like, "Oh, I went to Dunkin' Donuts. They messed up my order. They didn't give me a receipt, and they gave me the wrong thing. And I have this drink and this bag, and there was traffic. And Mom, what should I do?" I said, "Well, we're going to run errands. We'll go back, and we'll just show them the bag and the cup, and we'll get your money back." So we pull up to the drive-thru, and someone says, "Sorry, we're closed." And I said, "Well, we just want to get our money back." "Well, we're closed. Sorry." And I said, "Well, may I please speak with the manager?" And I said, "You know, I just want to get a credit or something." And someone who's listening, this really nice kid, says, "I'm not a manager, but of course we'll give you your money back. And thank you for not yelling. Our computers are down." And he said, "Can I just give you some donuts to thank you?" And I said, "No, thank you. That ship has sailed." And he said, "Can you do me a favor and can you pull around the back door? I want to show you something." Because he kept insisting on that we take donuts. So I drive around, he opens up the back door, and he shows me this massive cart of probably 400 items of donuts, bagels, croissants, etc. He said, "Every day we're told to throw out all this food." He said, "Could you please take some donuts?" And I said, he said, "And please find some people that are experiencing homelessness." I said, "Absolutely." So we took some boxes and then we exchanged numbers, and I went back 5 days a week on average. And we would go to at closing, we'd box up stuff. And I found 6 or 7 places that, they give food to single moms who are struggling, or families that have been displaced and they're sharing a single room, 8 people in a room. And so I also went to Einstein Bagels and we picked up there. And so the point is, I took myself out of my own life and started doing something great. And I created something called the CARE Initiative out of it. And I'm looking to do this in schools as a club. So students can pick to do what I did, or they can do something else. And CARE stands for connection, attention to mental health, resilience, and education. So the donut story fits into those pockets, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, Janine. Yeah. Yes. When you say things like that, it's like, I do this every morning and every night. Like I take inventory at night. I list out loud when I'm in my room, dark room. I'm like, okay, this great thing happened today. This great thing happened today. This great thing. And then I wake up and say, okay, I get to do this today. Like,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm always taking mental inventory of how much I have and how much I'm grateful for, because I'm totally blessed, like beyond. But where was I going with this? But yeah, it's just a reminder, like of how much we have, compared to some people.
Have you heard of Mary's Kitchen in Orange?
I have.
Okay, so we would drive over there, and I'll be honest. At first, I was uncomfortable but mostly because I just felt like, wow, some of these people, they just like no shoes and just look so distraught, and it's so sad, and I just felt like so selfish and spoiled in my life, and then the more I would bring stuff over, I'm like, okay, I'm just doing a little dent here. It's something, and that's, I believe that we need to refocus our priorities and do things like that.
I have a girlfriend that travels from Orange County to Costa Rica a lot. And she is a singer-songwriter. She just actually put out one of her singles called Brave. Her name's Jade Acoustic, so I'll plug her in.
Okay.
But she's awesome because she comes back, she travels back and forth. And last time I saw her, she was like, she was at my house and she's like, God, we're so spoiled here.
Yeah.
And so she had a different perspective,
Sure.
of what we have here.
Even if in like, wow, I have running water. I have a toilet.
Yeah.
I have a ceiling fan. It makes you really take, inventory on how you overlook things. You're not mindful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a question for you, because I struggle with this. I don't know if you do, but so do you get anxiety like in the middle of the night? Do you get insomnia? Do you get worried? Like, do you have a hard time getting rid of those negative thoughts? Like, do they ever come to you while you're sleeping?
It's interesting. I was just asked this last week. Actually, I was having dinner with a friend, and I used to. I think 2019 and 2020, I had more insomnia and a lot of thoughts racing.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I don't have that very often anymore. But if I have something that is troubling me, that's, either professionally or personally, something that I'm dealing with, or something happened to me emotionally during the day, then I will definitely, it'll be harder for me to fall asleep.
Yes.
Number one, because my mind will be processing that. Or I will fall asleep and then I'll wake up in the middle of the night and then I'll have trouble falling back to sleep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 One thing that I learned, do you mind me jumping in?
Of course. Yeah, go right ahead.
One thing I learned about that helped me is to do something pleasant before I go to bed and get off the computer. So I cannot do work up until the time I go to sleep, because I did that like a week or so ago. I could not fall asleep and I could not stay asleep. But because I like to play guitar, if I work on a song that's not too difficult, I actually will wake up and I will hear that song when I wake up in the morning. So just doing something that it's called the flow state gets you into that zone of like comfort, mental vacation. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, I think music is just, that's why I answered, you asked me the question, it's just music is for me is just, there's just something so uplifting for the body, and it takes your brain somewhere else. And it's funny, I have my guitar right here, Janine, and I tried to take lessons and I learned a little bit, but I've not I still need a guitarist if I want to sing.
But you know what you could do? I have some advice for you. There is a website that I love, and you could just look up a song and you can select beginner. Are you an intermediate player, beginner?
Oh, for sure, beginner.
Okay, so and I can show you a few things another time.
Yeah,
for
sure.
But there is a website that I go to if I have a song that I really want to learn. It's called Songster.
Oh,
and it will show you tablature. I don't know if you are familiar with tablature, but you don't have to read music.
Okay.
And it'll show you note for note where to put your fingers, and you could just go easy, just go beginner level.
Yeah. I mean, I did that all through 2020. I practiced the ukulele actually, and then and I learned "Let It Be" by the Beatles.
I love that song, and that's a great example. That's on Songster. Yeah. And I'm not a owner of Songster or endorsing, but I just happen to love the website. Yeah.
So tell us about, where do you find your inspiration other than, I don't know, just you're so motivated. I'm totally the same, but I just want to know, where does this inspiration come from?
I think because I have spent so much time alone, especially as a kid, I always had this creative mind, and I love screenwriting. And so I like finding the humor in life. I like looking at situations or people as something that I could share with the world in a comedic way. Whether it's parenting, because parenting can be so stressful, but also funny at the same time. So it comes from life. It comes from paying attention to total strangers or situations I find myself in. I'll give you an example. I wrote several screenplays, short ones, in the pandemic. And one was about this woman that was taken for granted by her family. She has 3 kids. And she's so overwhelmed by the clutter in her house. She's trying to have this online presence that's smoke and mirrors. Like, she's got the backdrop, right? But behind her is a pile of junk and laundry and neglect in her bedroom. And she accidentally gets locked into her garage, which is just looks like a hoarder garage, while her husband's like sports memorabilia crap. And so I integrate my own life and into comedy. And so I wrote this 30-page script, and it was sort of like my life, but not my life, but relatable. And so I just get ideas from different things, whether it's my life, someone else's, things I might see online, things I might want to write that will uplift somebody else. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm
just curious, do you have siblings?
Yes.
You grew up with?
Well, no, not really. One of them ended up living somewhere else. So I was pretty much an only child.
Okay. So
that's why there was this long pause of
Yeah. No, I can relate to you when you say you get your inspiration from just your childhood and
being alone. Yeah.
Being alone, because I grew up as an only child as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I was pretty much an only child. I would say that. Yeah.
I mean, I have half brothers, and I have half brother and half sisters, and we're all close now, but I grew up definitely alone.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have amazing stepbrother and stepsister I adore. Yeah. So no, and I believe, as much as I think, oh, that was hard at times, it was a gift, because you rely on yourself, your own imagination. And I remember being really close with my grandmother, who like saved me, just was so loving and kind. And I used to laugh so hard my stomach hurt. And I remember her teaching me how to sew. And I went back from her house in Florida to New York City, and I'm like, I'm going to sew a vest. And I remember cutting material, and it was like lopsided. And I'm like, I'm going to keep going. And it was like the ugliest, stupidest thing. And I wore it proudly.
Yeah.
The point is, like, I was okay with it wasn't perfect. Yeah.
I love that. I love that, because that's another thing that people need to hear. You know, your art or your creativity or anything you do, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, what do you want to leave us with, Janine? Talk about, you know, your series. When does it start?
Yeah. Okay. So it starts July 7th, 6 p.m. Again, with the Power of Poetry. And we have such an amazing schedule, July and August. And there's everything from creative writing to mental health and wellness to becoming, you know, figuring out how to mold your ideas into becoming an entrepreneur, science of happiness. And there's so many more things. There's even a hip hop class we added. The instructors are amazing. And there's a website, otbseries.com. Oscar Tomboy, otbseries.com. And the tickets are only $18 a workshop. They're 1 hour. And we are accepting sponsors and affiliates. So if someone says, you know what, I want to buy a block of tickets and give it away to this Boys and Girls Club, that'd be awesome. Or I want to sponsor a workshop. Whatever it is, we would love the support. I was just talking to people today who are leading workshops. We're just really excited to bring this to the world.
For sure. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your message and
absolutely
open and vulnerable and bringing positivity to a lot of people. A lot of people need it.
They do. And, you know, it's interesting too, because I have adults that are going to take workshops with someone who's in their early 20s. And why not? You know, we all have something to share and learn from. So I'm looking to do more of this, and again, make it intergenerational and keep this going.
Awesome. Thank you, Janine. Thank you for being on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So everyone, that was Janine Bernstein. She's doing so much good for us here during this time that we have to regroup and just kind of go deeper into what we love. And like she said, you know, listen to those little voices that you talk to yourself, and join her workshop. It's otbseries.com. Again, there's the flyer. Thank you, Juan. Creative Arts. So July 7th, 6 p.m. is the Power of Poetry, otbseries.com. And yeah, so just take that down. And yeah, so I always say, you know, just be good to yourself, eat healthy fruits and vegetables, drink lots of water. And my name's Jenna. Until next time, love your body and love your life. Take care.